Donald Trump's criminal defense attorneys are in a big fight with each other. The fight is basically embarrassing because it shows that on one of the biggest questions facing this White House, does the president have exposure for committing a crime in office or while campaigning, his own lawyers cannot publicly agree and are making their case against each other in public. Now that is the optics you may have heard about. I want to go in deeper, though, right now to why this could matter in the actual case. You may have heard of good cop, bad cop. Well, right here, we're looking at Joe Friday from Dragnet versus Richard Nixon. Allow me to explain. Trump lawyer Ty Cobb is now pushing a factual denial. He is arguing that the facts will show Trump didn't collude and didn't obstruct. Dragnet's Joe Friday was known for his no-nonsense, just-the-facts approach, a style famously captured in this 1953 parody.
Then why are you asking me all these questions for?
Just routine, ma'am. We just want to get the facts.
Just the facts. And that is the context for this new statement from this Trump lawyer, Cobb, saying this will be a, quote, fact-based exoneration and dismissing Alan Dershowitz's argument as an academic discussion. And that is Cobb's basically public smackdown of the other Trump lawyer, John Dowd, who is Trump's assertive counsel and, you may have heard, sometimes Twitter ghostwriter. Because it was John Dowd who publicly advanced the Dershowitz argument, saying the president cannot commit obstruction. And this is inside. It's the argument that because you're president, your criminal activity becomes decriminalized. If that sounds ridiculous, that's because it is. It also has a terrible track record. This has been rejected by past Congresses and was famously stated in a 1977 Nixon interview.
The president can decide that it's in the best interest of the nation or something and do something illegal.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
Does it? This is the fight right now, and it's playing out in public. And even Alan Dershowitz, who's been a big defender of the president's legal position on this show and others, he's now saying the Nixon argument has its limits, posting on Twitter, "My argument is not that a president can never be charged with obstruction of justice. It's that he cannot be charged with that crime if his only actions were constitutionally authorized." And tonight, in researching this story and reporting it out, I got to speak to Ty Cobb on the phone, and he added this, quote, "My belief is the arguments will be fact-based, though I can't deny that there are extensive legal arguments prominent in the press regarding the president's constitutional authority." And he said this was primarily as described by Professor Dershowitz. Well, we got a lot of legal issues, and I bring in for our exclusive tonight a legal expert. Judge Timothy Lewis was a federal prosecutor. He's a Republican-appointed federal appeals court judge, and he is one of the most interesting legal minds, if you don't mind me saying, sir.
Thank you very much, Ari, and it's good to be with you again. Good
to be with you, and as viewers may know, it's rare to get federal judges on air, so it's a real treat to have you. Walk us through your view of this constitutional debate about whether a president, any president, can, as a legal matter, potentially obstruct justice.
Well, Ari, these are serious times, of course, very serious questions. It's unfortunate that we are at a point in this administration, or really in any administration, where we have to address them yet again. So forgive me for not wallowing in academia or sugarcoating this in any way. The answer is yes, of course. A sitting president can obstruct justice. There is, in my mind, no question about that. And as a matter of fact, in recent history, we've had a president impeached for allegedly obstructing justice. He was acquitted, of course, in the Senate. And years before, the referral involving President Nixon referred to obstruction of justice. So there really is no question about that. There are some questions as to the timing. There are some questions as to whether or not a criminal prosecution could happen while a president is sitting. These are questions that we haven't had answers to, but and Judge, on the fundamental premise that you've raised, yes.
And let me ask you, in your experience overseeing trials, we are seeing the hint of an argument that, well, maybe it's no big deal to fire the FBI director even if you had an illicit goal. Or maybe it's no big deal to sort of do obstruction light, we're seeing from some Trump allies. In your view, is there any support for that legally, or is that a diminishment of what is potentially a serious felony, obstruction of justice?
Well, that's a fair word. It is a diminishment of not only the act, but it's also a diminishment of the office of both the president and the FBI director to suggest that this is nothing. This is everything. You know, I'm sitting here this evening talking to you from Philadelphia. I'm only a few blocks away from where 241 years ago our founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence. And one of the charges against the King of England at that time was the obstruction of the administration of justice. This is embedded in our history, our laws. We fought a war to be free of that sort of thing, that sort of tyranny. We have developed a body of law and a culture that respects certain norms and we have certain expectations of the behavior of our leaders and of our office holders. And so to suggest that this is not a big deal, I think is maybe, to be even more blunt, to demean the office and to do so in a way that elevates a human being, a person, above the law, which is something that we simply do not do. It's not a part of our laws, and it's not a part of our Constitution, it's not a part of our history, and we have to take this very seriously.
And the final question for you, as an experienced expert on litigation, what does it mean to you, what does it say that Trump's lawyers are having this fight in public tonight?
I don't want to get into the manner in which Trump's lawyers have chosen to represent him. Let me just say that it is not the most artful performance I have seen in my years. What I can tell you is that Cobb is right in one sense. The facts ultimately will determine what happens here, and we don't know the facts yet. So, to that limited extent, I would agree with him on the question of.
Because we're out of time, I opened with a compliment. If you don't mind, Judge, I'll close with one. In a sea of hyperbole, we get a great deal of precision and class from you, and I appreciate that. You've been on the show before. I hope you'll come back.